today's expert speaker, Dr. Rajiv Narayan sir. Rajiv Narayan sir, Senior Research Associates of Manohar Parrikar Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis, New Delhi. Please, sir. Dr. Rajiv Narayan is a Senior Research Associate at the Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis, New Delhi, working there since 1993, where he specialized in international relations and security issues. He holds a PhD and a Master of Art in International Relations from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Dr. Rajiv also served as a visiting research fellow at Japan Institute of International Affairs, Tokyo, a senior researcher at Peace Research Institute, Oslo, a senior visiting research fellow at King's College, London. Dr. Rajiv was also on the committee of the Ministry of Defense on the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, and he served on management bodies of various colleges, schools, institutions. Dr. Rajiv has published books as well as papers in academic journals and a chapter of books. He has contributed so many articles to numerous newspapers. At present, Dr. Rajiv is Secretary General of Indian Association of International Studies. He is a member of the Executive Council of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, Kolkata, which is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Culture. He is also a managing trustee of Center for Studies in International Relations, which specializes in the cultural aspects of international relations. Really, I feel privileged to brief the short introduction of Dr. Rajiv to this august gathering. Now, I would like to request Urmi Mala Barua to felicitate our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rajiv Narayan, sir, by traditional gamcha. A symbol of our Kamakhya temple. A memento. Indigenous basket with traditional items. Thank you. Now our first technical session is going to start, and the subject is national security and effective border management. Now, without losing any of our further time, I would like to request Dr. Rajiv Narayan sir to please deliberate the subject. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you very much for giving me a very generous introduction. Chairperson Shri Pradeep Kumarji, Chopra Sahab, who has been coordinating with me from the very beginning. Pradeepanji, I don't see him, who really prompted me to come here and deliver a talk on the subject. And I would like to congratulate SEEMANTA, CHETANA, MANCHA, PURVOTTAR and ADHIVAKTA PARISHAD ASSAM PRANT for organizing this event, codifying border laws, legal framework for national security and border management. My task is very limited, and I have to write, as I told many of my friends, that I have to write a preface. The real work will be done by all the lawyers and practitioners here who are sitting over in the audience. But I will try to do my best to provide to write a good preface so that good law or good body text is written. So there are many questions which are in this topic, and plus the overarching theme, codifying the law. And in fact, we were discussing it before. Codifying the law for border, national security, border management especially, is a very challenging task. And it is nothing new, let me tell you. Law is considered relevant for a very simple reason. Why? Because it provides a statutory authority to whatever you do. All the enforcement agencies, if you don't have laws, proper laws, then you do your job and nothing will happen if anyone is arrested. So this is the first step. Second step is, if you have got a law, then something will flow in, and that is the regulatory framework. This is what we study in security studies, international relations. That administrative law, sometimes we casually, loosely call administrative law. And when you are a student of international relations, you tend to be used with some charming words like soft laws. Soft laws, these are considered quite essential for border management or for undertaking any activity. Inside border, outside border. And there is a school in Germany that says that if you have to understand any organization, any phenomenon, just don't go by the big picture. Don't go by this mission statement. It will lead you to nothing. If you want to understand that organization, that phenomenon, or especially organization's activities, read its notices. Once you start reading its notices, the details, the devil lies in details, then you will really have an understanding, apprehension of the phenomenon or the organization. So I think devil lies in details. Why law is important? There are many reasons I can give. Third reason I will say, and I believe that the present seminar is being organized for that. It is not that we don't have laws or the world doesn't have law. Or it is not that there is no law or there is no international law on activities relating to the border management. There are. The problem is there are too many. And the too many sometimes also causes problems. As Honorable Governor Tamil Nadu pointed out, and when Mr. Pradeep Kumar pointed out, sometimes they tend to be contradictory. And when you are going to take any action, you don't know, one hand is, as it is talked about any government, not just Indian government, any government, left hand doesn't know what is right hand doing. So sometimes you are implementing one law and another law is just contradicting and the culprit is getting scot-free. So this harmonization is an issue. And I am told that we have laws. I'll talk about when we start discussing about border management, how many activities border management entails. And for all the activities, you have too many laws. Just one example if I take, if you have to just take about the gun control, the small arms and light weapons regulation, the country has got many laws. This country has got many laws, and the world has got many agreements, treaties. Now there is one very famous treaty, Arms Trade Treaty. Although India is not a party to it. That's a different matter, and we participated. But there are many initiatives, and these initiatives resulted in the formulation of many of the what I call soft laws. And these soft laws, even if don't enter into your country's law, but influence your country's system. And this is very unique about the law or regulation when we talk about. Even if you don't have laws, but you have got regulations coming in. Through what? Through best practices. And here I always warn, and I was warning there also, best practices are not devised by you. They are not devised by your experience. they are devised by someone else's experience. And you are formulating laws on the basis of someone else's experience being called as best practices. Anyway, I will always make mockery of the term best. The moment you say best, there is no scope for improvement. If there is good, appropriate, at least we have got some approval. But it has entered into the lexicon of, say, security strategy, international relations. So again, I would like to congratulate these organizers for at least taking an initiative, making a great beginning, that from our experience, we are thinking of codifying laws. We are thinking of harmonizing our laws. We are thinking of harmonizing our regulatory experience. We are thinking of finding out the gap which is existing in laws, in regulations, in notifications, so whatever, in rules. So this is commendable. Otherwise, you will have something coming, and when all your security agencies are getting trained on the basis of someone else's manual, or your even judiciary sometimes is trained by someone else's law, and then you'll say, oh, there is a gap in your law. That gap may not be relevant for us, but somehow you are forced to incorporate those provisions in your laws, even if you are redundant, and you are making your own legal system unnecessarily heavier. The United States is facing this problem. Accumulation of rules, accumulation of laws, and then they don't know what to do with that. So now then you get a man like Trump who say that I will just negate everything. Because this is born out of that necessity, and he gets support. Because this burdensome phenomenon pinches those stakeholders. So that's why such people start getting support. So it's good that we are making a beginning. And now coming to the second issue, I just would like to congratulate them and congratulate for bringing me here. Second, about border. Again, Honorable Governor raised very important issue. How to define? When an academician, for a practitioner, border is border. For an academician, they struggle. What is the difference between border and a frontier? What is the difference between a border and boundary? Unnecessarily there is debate. You understand it well, what I am supposed to do. But once you are going for making a law, then you'll have to be clear. And in fact, broadly what John Agnew has written, that it is modern geopolitical imagery. The term he has used, geopolitical imagery, means there is no concrete definition, legal definition, where border ends and where frontier begins. You have got rough imagery, calculation, understanding that, okay, this is frontier, from this far it is frontier, that line that is drawn is boundary, and this small zone is called, we should call it border. But it is not there. So then he gave a very concrete suggestion. Let us define border. What is our border where? Some kilometers, once you are doing fencing, then say, okay, up to this kilometers we can do fencing. So again, this is ad hoc. On the basis of some necessity, on Punjab border, we should have border, some fencing up to this border, and that we call, okay, we did border fencing on the India-Pakistan border. But still there is no uniformity there. So that is again an issue. Defining the phenomenon properly for codification. Once you are aspiring for, or you are going for a phenomenon, or for solving a problem, so then you will have to minimize the risk or minimize the uncertainty as much as you can do. Still there is border, as it is believed that border is a moving political phenomenon. That's fine. That is for political scientists and higher experts to do. But once you are supposed to undertake security activities, you cannot be that lax, that, okay, it is a moving political phenomenon. Yes, it's true that some understanding is proper, like, yeah, it is your sovereignty marker. You know, this is my sovereignty, this is my jurisdiction, it is well defined, then you can act and act upon there. There could be many other issues you can undertake, as he has been repeatedly pointing out, and I will also talk about that, and in fact, even it is not that Westerners did not talk about that, and Westerners did not think about that. That is people, state and fear. The state, the traditional notion of state and government need to be modified with peoples. So people's needs, so element of people, element of population. Yes, of course, it is not just a new phenomenon, it's a traditional old phenomenon. So people, we have to take care of that. So human security element comes in, so of course that is also very important there. But what happens within confined in territory, what national government, national activities, human community, generally your government's jurisdictions, a government scope continues or is maintained within a defined territory, and that is, like it or not, whether you call it human, but territory matters. Without territory, can you have a country? Without these borders, can you live peacefully? So security, border management, that's why is important. Of course, human beings, but also your territory. Suppose Pakistan keeps entering into inside, or China keeps entering inside. Even if they don't take away your population, they push your population inside. Then what will you do? You'll say, no, my population is very much here, and so, okay, a little bit of territory is gone. So I know many professors. I am from JNU. So once we were having a talk, which is very rare, only one meeting that took place, and that was between the composite dialogue process which had started between India and Pakistan. And one of the outcomes of that meeting was to have a think tank level talk between my institute, Manohar Parrikar, now it is being called, earlier it was called Institute for Defense Study and Analysis, and Pakistan, Islamabad School, Institute of Strategic Studies. So only one talk has been held so far. It is official and nothing happened. So in that, some of the people articulated the Indian traditional concept of nation, territory doesn't matter. I mean, this is ridiculous. We all, and there's one JNU professor who articulated this. Territory matters, and that's why its security matters. So we should not forget it. Once we are swayed away by emotions, people, states, fear, it is without territory you cannot have a nation state. Despite all the prophecies made by many theoreticians, many theoretical traditions, that the world, borderless world has entered into. Globalization is struggling now, thanks to China and even Trump. I'm not just saying China and Trump. Border still matters. And we have seen it. Deportation of people from United States. Once the long champion of open world, borderless world, now deporting people. Right, wrong, and ugly, that part I am not going. But for them it matters. In Europe and Ukraine, Europe, another developed part of the world, that also, because of European Union, you are also advocated. Now this is borderless, the different kind. We have made a beginning. European Union is showing that old traditional concept of border doesn't matter. Now you see Ukraine, what is happening. And now see this, now Euro thinking, Euro security, European security is coming up. Now they are all scared. Now they are increasing budget. Earlier, when Trump said that, yeah, you people are not even spending 2% of your GDP, I am spending, United States is spending more than 3% of my GDP on defense. They did not pay attention. Now, if you see the chart coming up, OECD publishes the chart. Just now I have not brought it here, but you can access to it. How much in last 3 years, after this border problem started in Ukraine, and when Russia, whatever we say, Russian-Ukraine conflict, the way the budget of all the countries of NATO countries, non-Europe, American NATO countries has increased. Some even German budget It has increased more than 4% now. It is, even if its economy is contracting, but its defense budget is increasing. Similarly, others' budgets are also increasing. France, UK is thinking. So now all are thinking of protecting their borders, protecting their boundaries, new boundaries, which all the borderless world is this fancy terms which sometimes emanate, and that's why I'm saying we have to be careful from all the ideas come from outside and they try to preach us, and if we don't think about those ideas from our own perspective, as Governor Sahab our own perspective. Our perspective should not be just fashionable, and it should be grounded to the reality. And I mean, our armed forces are sitting here and they will provide their feedback, what is the ground reality and how we can do that. So this is the situation. Forget about, I'm not talking about, say, Africa. I mean, it is an important continent. I am not ignoring that. Latin America, Americas are facing the problem. Again, come back in our own backyard, our own area, in Asia, Southeast Asia. Now you have got South China dispute. Now how it is being fought. So this is the reality. The border management problem is coming. So this is, when we say border, it is not just green border, as literature says, land border. It is blue border, that is naval border. And that, of course, air border, which they say a sky plane coming from there, and then airport is also considered a border. So we have to think about security management of all, not just narrowly conceived border territory, or means land border territory. This is a holistic, as you say, holistic picture we have to see. Solution could be many. I'll come about that solution later. But this is how we have to do. But now comes the question, and this is where we have to face the challenge. And that challenge is, what is the nature? Is it fixed, secure border? Thanks to human nature that wants to experiment with life, we don't want to be confined. I am from Bihar. I went to Delhi. I have come to Assam. Before that, as my biodata was read out, I went to US, UK, many places. So as a scholar, I went. But our tradition, not just, and in our culture, people go out for trade also. This part, there is phenomenon called Sarthava. In Southeast Asia, our merchants and the leader of the merchants, they went out. Others also go. And so many people say that we had got very impure look towards sea. In fact, if you read the classical literature, you will find that we never had this problem. Many say Cholas actually changed it. But if you really go deeper into it, even before Cholas also, we had sea voyages taking place. And one book, I don't know, now it has been translated into English. So if anyone wants to read that, so they should read also then the sea security, that is Moti Chand's. And that is, he has written the book Sarthava, and it is excellent treatise of how trade and security really overlap. So they are not separable. They are inseparable. And how in the ancient period, we taught the world how to do statecraft. That is a different matter. Sometimes later I will talk about that. But what I am saying, this human urge or human activities to experiment or to have some kind of trading, economic relationship with the world, you can say, or to have some kind of connectivity. Now we are talking about the term connectivity. Increasing interactions. Globalization has got another aspect. Borderless world was basically thrust upon us by the theoreticians. But there is another aspect, that is increasing interactions among nation states to do different kinds of economic activities. Or so that in follow-up or in consequence of it, you'll start finding, okay, this is not working. So what we should have? increasing connectivity. Now even Prime Minister is saying all kinds of air connectivity, land connectivity, all kinds. So all this put pressure on your border management because you have got a different kind of experience coming up. This is not the traditional threat perception or enemy-oriented understanding of border management. This is a very dynamic concept of border management which one has to learn. Then comes I was told that we have got Customs Act, many acts, many departments are active, some are clear-cut enemies. So you know how to do with them. But then there are hidden enemies, and this is network-oriented. Then non-state actors, maybe some at times, many times, I will not say at times, many times supported by state actors. So all this create a complicated situation, not only for the world, but also for us. So our experience is not a bit different from this kind of experience. So then we have Customs Act. Now customs it is also under pressure. Now many things, the moment it is cyber world, when cyber crimes are taking place, then what will you do? With a traditional, when intangible, the concept, intangible technology transfers are taking place. When deemed exports means what? Means a foreign country, foreign national is sitting in this country and he is acquiring your knowledge and going back and making his or her own arms. So this kind of knowledge transfer is taking place, very intangible kind of situation. So this is a very complex world. So our law has to adapt and really it has to somehow get integrated. Integrative approach which Honorable Governor emphasized, but I am just providing you details. So there is need for that, and only then we can really have something, a problem, a complex, moving, dynamic problem addressed by the legal system, whereby the culprits don't go scot-free. This is another issue. So how are we performing? Because I have got 40, 30 minutes, and so I will just evaluate our own system, and then I'll go about that question answer. So in 10, 15 minutes, I'll evaluate our own system. So what I am going to do is that some issues highlighted by our Honorable Governor, I agree with him, Border Area Development Program. This is an innovative program, and it is not only unique to India, but you'll be surprised that this idea had, I think, Honorable Governor was member of United Nations Committee on Counterterrorism. So in fact, they also had a guideline about that, how to manage your border to somehow stop the terrorists. I was talking to our friends there that I was at King's College London. So there we were discussing about the network. Basically, I was studying proliferation network, but the entire operation of a network. And in this network, you have to identify the weak point, whereby you can unravel the entire network. So what we realized that non-state actors, once they work with state actors, this is the most complex task. And this is very challenging task also. So you have to think about that, how to do that. But once there is border development program area, it is working quite well. I am not saying it is not working well, but generally suggestions are being made. Avoid or go ahead with 4 or 5 things. First is, and because what border development area does, this is globally accepted phenomenon, and they say there are nomads who wander in the uninhabited land, and you will not only generate intelligence, but you will also have the terrain, the knowledge of terrain, knowledge of who are staying there, who are not staying there, how they are operating. So all the information, only thing you have to know is how to engage them. If you don't engage them, and second, generally advice is given that don't make them collar fatigue. collar fitting in the sense that we have got too many agencies working and all give their telephone numbers. Okay, hot lines. If they have got too many hotlines, then the real time, the hotline will not work. They'll say that, what is that? So that these hotlines, their community people should not be given too many hotlines. That need to be coordinated, and that had also been suggested by the Honorable Governor, that although he did not specify, but I am sure when he was in the committee, this idea was brought in, because many countries complained at that time that generally they don't respond. The complaint was that border people don't respond, they don't, even if they give them telephone numbers. When a study was conducted, then they realized that they poor chaps have got too many telephone numbers. And generally people, even the security agency don't respond. I'm not talking about India, I'm just talking about the global experience. So this is what happens. One issue which generally it is suggested that give them identity card. How to give them? And that is a big challenging question mark. That again, for that again law comes in. How you define the area, and if you properly define the area, then obviously you can have limited limited number of people enjoying this facility. So these are some of the suggestions which are made for border area development program. Another thing, vibrant village program, which Honorable Governor also pointed out. I was in Uttarakhand recently, and again on China, on many other in Himachal. This program is for this northern border. It is not being implemented for other parts. And the biggest beneficiary of this program is, of course, Arunachal Pradesh, which has got 450 villages covered under it. And Honorable Governor pointed out 200 villages are empty. So still in Uttarakhand, only 51 villages have been covered. So in Himachal also there are many villages, and Sikkim is also covered under it, and Ladakh is covered under it. So there are many villages. So how to increase it? It's a big challenge. And because still, despite around 6,800 activities, Ministry of Home Affairs had listed at 6,800 activities had been undertaken by December of 2024. And under these activities, many works have been done. Those are fine. Yet the program has to attract people generally. Otherwise, what happens? The moment people leave their villages, it is very difficult to draw them back. And drawing them back is a difficult task. How to do that? Where they have migrated? And this is one big challenge. Suppose they have migrated and you don't have record. And bringing them back to villages is not an easy task. It is a challenging task, but need to be performed. You have to make that place more attractive. If you don't make that attractive, then they'll say, okay, I have already got a house here. My children are getting education in these schools. So why to again go back? There are no villages, because things are, this program was started in 2023. So not much can be really done in terms of a permanent institutional infrastructure. So these are some of the issues which we have to take into account. So last, I think in 5 minutes, I'll just conclude. I already taken 30-40 minutes. And two more points I will just say. One is about risk assessment. We are quite poor in, although theoretically we do this. It is not, if you ask, do you do risk assessment? Do you have risk management system? All the government department will say, yes, we have got. And we have got this infrastructure. But where we lack? And when I was talking to some of our friends, I was discussing about the network system, how this network system operates, and how Britishers or maybe Americans succeed. Now we are also succeeding. It is not that we are so bad, so we should not do self-condemnation. If you start really evaluating our own security successes, and we have parameters, and I was just going through the data about before 10 years ago, if you go through the data, how many terrorist incidents take place in the country, and now we just compare the data. So last 5 years, in last year one incident had taken place, before that in 2022 one incident. So although I don't agree with Ministry of Home Affairs categorization of internal security, that they have to revise. Otherwise, I mean, I don't, whether who has written that report, or those who have made it, I don't know. Either person is very poor in reading political geography. And this is what I have been pointing out, that Western influence on us. The term is there are 4 threats. I don't know, you must be knowing. The 4 internal security threats. What are those 4 internal security threats? One is terrorism in India's hinterland. What do you mean by hinterland? Well, first you understand the term. Hinterland you are just using. Hinterland means basically heartland, Hindi heartland. Oh, what do you, it means you are, by using term political geographer, backenders, and you are just isolating your other parts, means others are not, Northeast is not covered. What do you mean by that? Second is terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. This is also part of India. Why separating it? Then you are basically helping their cause by separating it, that is not in the hinterland. It is terrorism in J&K. Terrorism in hinterland is different, terrorism in J&K is different. This is second threat, official. I am talking about official. Third is insurgency in Northeast India. What do you mean by that? Northeast India is not part of India. So it is separating again insurgency. And fourth is left-wing extremism, LWA. LWA, again, we can debate, but these 3 are highly problematic. In fact, before that, in Ministry of Defense, think tank has also been, annual report had also written that nationalism is the biggest threat to India. This is how these bureaucrats write. So I objected. On many platforms I spoke against it. What do you mean by nationalism? You just borrow something from one of the books, one of the dominant literature, and because in Europe they say nationalism because its threat supranationalism is European Union, and America talks about nationalism as a global threat. So you also start writing that nationalism is a threat to India. So remove it. So now thankfully our annual report of Ministry of Defense doesn't mention that nationalism, Indian nationalism threat to India. So this kind of situation we have got. So that part is there. So that we are performing well. Again on Jammu and Kashmir also. I mean, there are data, there are incidents which are taking place, but it has improved. Northeast, we are talking, now we talk that Northeast has changed. Everybody is talking. Even though you don't need any statistics. If there are statistics, every year annual report is published, there are reports, but sometimes you don't have to read. Though you don't need evidences, data, statistical or quantitative methodology to score your point or to establish your point. You feel it. So things have improved, yet we should not be complacent. Because threats, as I told you, are dynamic in nature. Because our interaction is very dynamic in nature. The problems which are coming in the world is dynamic in nature. One example again I will give you about drones. We have talked to many BSF officials about drones. Around 10, 11 years ago, there was a group in Delhi. It was started by one of the intelligence agencies official. That time she was working at our institute. And we wanted to have, because there were some incidents in Punjab, and drones were sighted. At that time, drone was not dropping. Drone was only sighted, and drone was just collapsing there. And then once drone started raining, drone started sending items to our country, undesirable items, from arms to narcotics to fake currency to many things. Then we realized at that time when we sat first, and it was a group called Dronacharya. So at that time they say, this is a remote threat. Why to waste our time on analyzing and putting resources on that? That time there was a strong resistance to address to the problem of drones. Now we are every day thinking how much we can spend on drones, anti-drones, drones technologies, drones training system. There is MANCHA training system in Malaysia. There are drone forensics in Chandigarh. BSF is leading that drone forensics. So things move. You don't know what happened. So that time we have to understand, we have to keep an eye on the dynamic threats. And we should not be very rigid even about our laws. Our laws must be dynamic. If law is not dynamic, then you will have problems. So our laws and regulations, sometimes regulations will be the first area to get changed. But laws, otherwise, again, we will not be prosecuting. When we had to prosecute some of the people for getting involved in weapons of mass destruction, what we realized that we didn't have laws. They all were getting scot-free. So then we have got this WMD Act. Now what we realized, that this money laundering, or we are very active participant of FATF, but our regulations and our laws are not reflecting to what we are discussing there. So then a WMD Act was amended and many other actions, activities were undertaking. So this is what have to have a very dynamic risk assessment systems, a strong database, and all need to be linked. The moment you delink one element, then you will have problems in other aspects. So this is what is required. So with this I end. I have already spent more than 40 minutes. So this is what is required. So our dynamic threat perception system, great inputs from, take inputs from all the integrated approach of security agencies. At times you will find, again, another charming word coming up, autonomous. Security agencies should be autonomous. And this is the dangerous part. One should never encourage this kind of talks happening. Autonomous, there is data, and there is a study, there are studies conducted on autonomous security agencies in some of the countries. I mean, developed countries I am talking about. All struggle to coordinate their business. So we should not fall prey to this kind of language. We have to have an integrated program. Thankfully, we are doing many things for coastal, again, Indian Coast Guard and police. There is coastal police are coordinating. Even in Tamil Nadu, that area, they are coming up. Academy has been set up. So this kind of coordinated activities are to be taken, not segregated. Otherwise, what happens? 16 agencies are purchasing data from one person, and that person is really making money, and we are wasting our resources. We have limited resources, so those resources are to be optimized. So this is what I think we have to do. And once again, I wish, I have written the preface, I believe, and lawyers have to do the job. I have pointed out some problems, some solutions. Next session will be by a very competent BSF official, and so he will also provide or he'll give his feedback and the problems they are facing. And so hopefully, and this kind of exercise, which loosely again we say public-private partnership, so it is something more than that. This is again a charming term, public-private, but it is something more than that. This is from within. We the people are being served by our security agencies. So this is our duty to provide feedback to our security agencies. So it is not that this is partnership kind of thing. This is from their citizens are providing soldiers, citizens are providing armed forces. So this is the duty of citizens to work with them. Nothing called partnership. Partnership is contract. There is no contract. As he said, Honorable Governor, I am quoting, I liked his talk. So this is organic. This is organic. So this organic build-up in different aspects need to be studied. This is a very good beginning, and I am ready to take your questions. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon, sir. Sir, with all due regards and respect and gratitude to you for the narrative that you have given us, you've spoken about holistic approach, integrated approach, and the fact that you have asked lawmakers to absolutely avoid collar fatigue or multiple agency fatigue. So this is in regard to the Coastal Security Bill, which, as reported, is reeling in the quagmire of red tapeism. The fact that an haphazard arrangement of 22 ministries and an array of stakeholders, the Indian Coast Guard, the Indian Navy, the Maritime Police, the State Police Department, the District Administration, the Customs Department, all of them together. So it becomes a very cumbersome process to specifically come out with the segregation of their territorial, functional and strategic jurisdiction. Same is in case of the border security forces, because they are facing challenges in terms of, there are instances wherein they are facing challenges in terms of coordination, in terms of sharing of sensitive information, in terms of swapping of responsibilities, etc. So, sir, like the way you said, we need an integrated approach with one singular authority which has a prerogative and a real functional jurisdiction over other authorities. Of course, the NMA has been set up, as you have already mentioned, sir, but could you throw some light on what is the current status of functional jurisdiction of the NMA, its prerogative over other agencies, and similar to its prerogative over other agencies, its functional jurisdiction of the NMA, so the National Maritime Authority, like the way you mentioned, and whether a similar authority as such can be developed in this part of the country, in terms of the fact that we need a singular authority which will have a say over other authorities and which will have a synchronized approach in terms of weaving all the frontier agencies. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Very good question, but we have to keep in mind, we are not gods. Security agencies are also not gods. We learn. We have to learn from our mistakes. And we have to learn from our needs and how we can improvise. So this should be the motto. Today, as I told you, that threats could be dynamic. So many problems, many challenges you don't foresee today, but they surface tomorrow. So then tomorrow and you are creating agencies for today's threats generally, or you can have some kind of what we generally say in our system, like threat assessment you are making. So threat assessment, 15 years, 5 years, 11 years time. What? On the basis of what? On the basis of forces which are emerging, trends which are emerging. We do kind of trend analysis, again based on facts, based on data you have got. And if data, and this is called the forecasting methodology. So this forecasting methodology had its own limitations. Could anyone know that Modi ji will be becoming Prime Minister for the third time? No. This is the problem of forecasting methodology. Could anyone guess that 9/11 will happen and it will change the entire scenario? The joker in the pack is generally sometimes, joker in the pack shapes the future outcome. So these factors are there. It doesn't mean that we should not do assessment. And still forecasting methodology, and which we generally call in our security studies term net assessment. We do net assessment on the basis of different forces, available forces. We do trend analysis, and it is a very cost-effective methodology. And we do that, and we see threats. So now coming to the issue. So what to do integrated? Of course, integrated approach is necessary, but sometimes what happens, you have to also create specialized agencies. If you create one single authority and complex multiple threats or challenges come, so you just don't get beholden to that authority. You have to change. I am just giving you an example of United States. When 9/11 happened, they saw the problems from different angles. So they opened many bureaus, and in fact they dragged the university system also to think about it. So we also have to drag in university system. We do it, but it's not that much. And they did it. They had many reports. Some of the reports remained unimplemented. This is again American problem also. And some are implemented. So improvement is made. So just don't get pessimist. You are a young person. So things will improve. And that's why we are here. To foresee the challenges, laws, NMA, different kind of authority is written. MHA, just I'm giving you an example, simple example of MHA. There are different borders and we have got different border forces manning those borders. For India, Pakistan, of course, border security force is there. For China, ITBP there. But there is, and for Myanmar, it is Assam Rifles. Again, for SSBR for other two countries. So what happens? It is nodal agencies, MHA. But specialized agencies exist. And then armed forces also sit behind. They also help it. So again, you have to assess what are your requirements. If, again, as I told you, when the gap exists, you have to fill in the gap as quickly as possible. Again, I told you, this is human. We are human beings. There is no jadoo ki chhadi, magic wand, which you just change it. But we have to make efforts for that. Once you do efforts, obviously the outcomes will be there for you to see. Okay?
Sir, you talked about the border definition of border area. The definition.
Yes. Sir, you talked about the definition of border area. Now, what will be the, if for the check of a drafting of the codified border law, what will be the ingredients of the definition of border area? What?
Not border area. The problem is defining the border itself. How do you define border? How it is different from boundary and frontier. This is very classical debate in security studies, or you can say international relations. So first you have to define what your border is. Again, how much thick it is, how much you are covering, where and what. Will it be the same in northeast? Will it remain the same in western part? Will it remain the same in northern part? Or it will be narrower? So somehow you have to have your own assessment. Otherwise, what will happen, United Nations will send you a guidelines, and then they'll say 30 kilometers should be called the border. And then what will you do? Sometimes you'll find that in 30 kilometers there is nothing. And after 30 kilometers, you'll find that people are staying there. And they are important. They are relevant for your whatever issue. So then you have to define your own border. And how to do it? You have to basically play with words sometimes. In law, lawyers know it better. So, you do there, have annexures. When there are such complicated situations, we use annexures. You have a understanding, statement drafting, and then you define. Okay, annexure 1, in this district, this is border, this district, this is border. Just to simplify the matter. Otherwise, if you have got just one brush, then you will have another kind of problems coming up. So this is how you can do it. Many countries do that. They define there. So okay, they call something else. But for your understanding, it is there.
Namaskar, sir. I am Dr. Juri Goswami, Assistant Professor Law from JB Law College. First of all, thank you so much for enlightening us. And it is for the first time people of Guwahati are experiencing such a discussion on such an important issue, border management laws. because we have organized so many conferences, but this is for the first time we are having this type of conferences, discussion and debate on these very important and sensitive issues of our country. So, sir, with your permit, under the mentorship of VKC, sir, our team has also prepared something to supplement your lecture, sir. Already you have covered so many things, so many important things you have already covered. So if you permit, sir, I will also add something on this important issue. Briefly, sir, yeah. So, sir, national security and effective border management, what we feel, sir, that why you have to protect the border. So the effective border management, what we feel, sir, effective border management includes two objectives: ensuring safe and secure movement of authorized people and goods, and prevention of smuggling, human trafficking and infiltrations. So regarding need for border management, you have covered the important aspects, sir. And just I like to say something on the initiatives that has already been taken for effective border management. You have already enlightened us for regarding vibrant village programs. So what, apart from vibrant village programs, the Bharatmala Pariyojana, so I think is one of the very, very important steps initially taken. The Bharatmala Pariyojana, the focus is on the constant construction of borders roads along with international boundaries. Then we have comprehensive integrated border management system, integrated check post, border area development program, then constitution of the bilateral institutional mechanisms, so high-tech surveillance and the free movement regime of Indo-Myanmar border. So I think that these are already been steps taken by our government. And what I feel, sir, regarding as we are moving towards our objective is not the seminar. Our objective is to prepare a law, and our principle and the philosophy for is the one border and one border guarding force. For our one border and one border guarding force is the motto and the philosophy to codify before so that we can codify or we can make a comprehensive law on this very important subject. And regarding the suggested measures, sir, you have already highlighted some very important areas. So what I would like to add, sir, so better coordination among various agencies, innovation and technology infrastructure, capacity building, integrated cooperation with the neighbors. And as you have already covered certain important issues regarding laws also. So as we all know, we have Border Security Force Act and its amendment 2021. We have certain bill and the rules on SSB. So definitely with the cooperation and coordination of all of us, we will be able to make a comprehensive law on this very important issue. And lastly, once again, thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us. Thank you.
With thanks to Dr. Rajiv Nayan for lucid deliberation, I would like to request Pradeep Kumar sir for concluding remark and vote of thanks.
सॉरी आई जस्ट वांट टू ऐड वन पॉइंट. जो ड्रोन के बारे में राजू जी ने बोला है, उसमें अभी नया जियो स्पेशल एक्ट बना है. जिस जियो स्पेशल एक्ट के तहत ड्रोन का लाइसेंस होगा, कौन बनाएगा, कितना वेट होगा, कितना वेट लेके उड़ सकता है, कितना उसका एरिया रहेगा, ये सब कुछ दायरे में आया है. तो मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे जो नए कानून आ रहे हैं उस पर भी थोड़ी हम और आगे वाले सेशन में चर्चा कर लेंगे तो ज़रा और भी अच्छा रहेगा. ठीक है, थैंक यू.
Thanks, Dr. Rajiv Nayan ji. Your lecture was very comprehensive, and there were certain new terms which I heard from you was harmonization of laws. I have heard earlier unification of law, integration of law, but you have given a musical tone of harmony. And based on that, I was thinking when we were talking to the departments, we will give another term, symbiosis of departments, beneficial to each. What we will do will be beneficial to all the departments. Then you were talking about best practices. Last almost 40 years, we are doing the same thing. We find out the best practices. And you said you don't agree with the word best. But there is another term now which has come as best test. So let best continue, and there will be a scope for improvement by saying best test. Ajay, you said about geopolitical imaginary and border things. No, actually territory matters. There is no doubt about it. Whether somebody is saying no or no, but territory matters. When I was a student about 50 years back, there was a famous book, very good book, where it was said that the nations will dissolve. There will be no boundaries. The world will be ruled by the MNCs. When new MNCs were coming. But it's more than 50 years, nothing has changed. It was just a theory. It became very famous that time because the big MNCs were coming and they were spreading all over the world. So the idea was that the nations will dissolve, only the MNCs will rule. But it never happened and will never happen also. So that is why borders are very important and integrated law, unified law is very important for this. But there's one word which you were talking about, internal security thing, that hinterland and all these things. Same experience I had when I came to Assam. Once or twice in the meeting, somebody mentioned the word mainland. I was very annoyed. I said, ki my Satia is mainland. My Majuli is mainland. Every blaze of my country is my mainland. Why you are talking about we are away from the mainland or inside the mainland? When every blaze of my country is my mainland. There is no question of calling mainland and non-mainland. And thank you very much. It was a very enlightening lecture from your side. And I will request all of you to join us for the lunch because we are already late. And we will be starting after lunch the third session. And timing I want to tell you because the governor of Assam has strictly said this thing. He will be leaving because he has got other engagements. So third session, again, we will try to start within half an hour. We don't have much time, although lunch was given for 45 minutes, but please come early. We will start after half an hour.